27 to 29 now.
Cool, so we'll be sort of like 35, 37 for a bit and then...
Yeah, and then you'll be in the reef.
Cool. It's about a knot of tide, you reckon?
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, you won't be getting short of ideas of which one direction to go in.
We'll be going south if we like it or not.
You'll be going, all west.
Yeah. Okay. Look forward to it. Welcome back to Guernsey Shipwrecks. I'm JP Fellows and today we're out on the west coast. Unfortunately we didn't get many dives out on this coast this year. This is my only one. But it was good. The time me and Mish got to the bottom we were on the 30 metre. So we were meant to be slightly deeper on the edge of this reef, but well, we're on the top, so not the end of the world. As with every single dive I do, I'm not quite sure what we're going to see, so it's always a nice surprise. Turn the lights on, the first thing I notice is that there's a cuttlefish right in the shaley broken sand, stroke shells. The tide is starting to pull me further south, so it's kind of southwest. Oh, Mish almost landed on top of it then. Doesn't look like the cuttlefish is even that worried. So probably because it was so well camouflaged. You can see all the dust now, all the sand is starting to get moved pretty quickly. So what we're going to have to do is carry on with the tide. We're not going to get much chances to swim any other direction but the way the tide's going. But that's good because it means we get to travel loads of distance. I'm just a bit worried that when we start hitting some of the reefs that we're going to end up getting dragged over the top. This is pretty cool. You can see the sand eels actually coming up out the sand. And they've disappeared already. Right, let's start to carry on. It's incredibly hard to film while you're getting dragged along the reef, especially as I got one hand on my bag and reel, or bag and rope I should say, because I haven't got no reel with me today. It's quite hard, as you can imagine. Loads of interesting stuff, loads of interesting bits. On these reefs, because they're so well smashed up with the current and the tide, stuff only grows in the protected areas, so the true west facing areas, and there's very little on top of these reefs because the tide whips through here so fast. Haven't seen many fish yet. There's always a standard coma. Comas seem to be absolutely everywhere at the moment, and then some of these yellow fingered ones. Oh, plenty of sea urchins. You can almost see. This is what I was worried about. Our rope going down a little gap and us getting caught. Us getting trapped. Safely over the top. Looks like a place where there'd be loads of nudibranchs. You can see it now as we come around the corner. That backscatter that's coming around and up and over and then into our face. Once you go over some of these reefs, it kind of, you fall into like an eddy, where your tide doesn't let go anywhere, it keeps you in one place just because of the way the tide's hitting the face of the rock and then coming up, and then it's kind of backing up on itself as well. It's kind of rolling over itself. Can be a very scary place to dive if you're not used to diving in a bit of tide, a bit of current, but thankfully we are. You can tell it's not actually that bad because at the moment none of the sponge fingers are rattling around. Plenty of these soapy stars, which surprises me really because I'm not quite sure what they eat. I take it they eat these bryozoans that are on the rocks. There's not many, and there's plenty of ray eggs or shark eggs. I think they're probably shark eggs wrapped up in the pink sea fans. In between all of these reefs around here, they're almost like fingers. There's like sandy patches. Like where Mish is now, she's dropped down into below the tide, below the current, and she can stay there as long as she wants. But I can't because I've got the rope going back to the surface. Really, what I want to do is see a flatfish. I haven't seen any flatfish in a while now. Months and months. And these are the sort of places that you kind of will see them. This is ideal. Ideal ground. This is maybe a little bit sandy. It tends to be a little bit more gravelly, a little bit more pebbly. Not quite sure why, but that's just the kind of thing that I've worked out over the years. This is okay, but it's not ideal. Probably about time I checked my air and my depth. 28 meters deep, and I've pretty much got 10 minutes left. And I've got about 180 bar left of air. So normally we used to carve our tanks in half and just say, right, what down? As soon as we get to about 130, we'll head back up, which will leave us 120 for the second dive. But on this one, because of its depth, I think we're just going to use the whole of this tank. It's interesting for me because one thing I've noticed, I check my air and my depth round about the 6 minutes mark. That was a little bit further than 6 minutes, 6.5 minutes, something like that. But it's weird how when you go back and you edit this stuff, I pick up on that kind of thing that I don't really think about underwater, but subconsciously, somehow in my mind, I've ingrained into checking it after 6 minutes. Believe me, that isn't training or anything like that. It's just somehow ingrained into my mind. I'm not quite sure how I do it. Subconsciously I do that on my own. Looks like we're finished out the back of the reef now. There is reef to my left, but now we're out onto the sand. So this sand is going to go for some distance. I don't think we're going to be able to see anything else. I'm kind of thinking that's probably it. 7 minutes left. There's a baby cuttlefish. There's also a little baby scallop. Well, I never see scallops on the west coast. That's always a good sign. They might be coming back. I'm going to hold my fingers crossed and hope that they do come back on the west coast. Don't ask me why. They certainly weren't overfished because there's hardly anyone that does any scallop fishing out the west coast. They just disappeared. And you can read into that however you want. You could say maybe the starfish have had it. Certainly wasn't the octopus because the scallops were gone quite a bit of time after, or quite a bit of time before the octopus arrived. So not quite sure. Probably sea temperature, but you never know. I thought that was the end of the reef, but we have got little tiny bits of it left. All sorts of different shells here. There's probably billions of shells. I'm not even exaggerating, there probably is billions of shells out here. One thing I'm very happy with is the fact that we haven't seen any evidence of any octopus yet. But I know there is loads and loads of them getting caught because our friends Steve Fallets and some of the other boys that fish out this coast find them in their pots constantly. Some of them sometimes 5 at a time in one crab pot. And I've been, oh no, I've spoke too early. Look at this. Well, a quick look there, it looks slightly different to the east coast. No, these found some scallops. But all these little holes here, there's at least 2 octopus that, well, probably live there, or maybe did live there. But it looks like they're eating loads of common otter shells out this side, and a few scallops. Not quite sure where they found them, but they're better than scalloping than us. There's also a shanker's claw there as well, so they're obviously eating the crab. Maybe now finally that's the end of the reef with 5 minutes left. Just check with Mish if she's got 5. We might as well take this right to the end. Try and take it into deco maybe, or maybe just go up just before. I don't think we're going to see much more. One thing that struck me about this dive is we didn't see any crabs, like whatsoever. Or lobsters, to be honest. In fact, we've hardly seen any life, have we? I don't think we've even seen any wrasse. That's worrying, the fact how desolate it is. I mean, we've probably seen every type of variety of starfish, but to be honest, I would expect that because starfish around Guernsey are absolutely all over the place. Doesn't matter what location you dive in, you can guarantee you see a starfish. Especially these ones, are spiny stars. It's a shame there wasn't a market for them. I could collect hundreds of them, probably thousands. It's about time we thought about going up, I think. I mean, I like starfish, but seeing 1,000 starfish isn't really high on my agenda today. 3 minutes left. It's going to take me a while. My technique without the reel is I just jam all the rope in the bag. Look at that, just one arm. So something's trying to have a nibble at him. I'm not quite sure if there is a natural predator for starfish. That's probably why there's so many. There you go, that's my technique. Jam it all in the bag and it floats kind of perfectly at that depth. That was the drift dive down the reef dive. Now we're going to a shallower one. I'm going to go to a shipwreck next. Up in all of these jaggedy rocks, they're like dog's teeth. Got to be so careful around here. And we're at the low tide as well now. Next spot is in between the rocks. I'm glad you're doing the boat.
Yeah, I haven't been through it here for years.
Oh, you're going to go through on the low tide. I like it. And you're coming down literally in between here. Rooster Mare.
Yeah.
Is this where we're going to have a little look later?
Maybe.
Maybe, we'll see what air we got. The cormorants on the rock, look, drying their wings. 3 of them. We're going right through the middle here, which scares the hell out of me. Oh yes, other apple pies are available. Oh, thank you. Makes exceedingly good cakes, Mr. Kipling. That's the scary bit over. Don't worry, plenty more scary bits. Doesn't look it, but there's a couple of metres swell there. And this is where I'm glad Paul's doing it, because it is literally right in the rocks here. In the rocks here. No, I weren't exaggerating. It come down from the UK, realised where it was the wrong side of the island, done a quick whoop, and then went up into the reef. There's quite a lot of tide running here though. You can see there's a big reef under there, look. See the rocks? Oh, the visibility on that! No way! You reckon it'll be alright, Paul? Do you reckon it's a bit too much tide? Yeah. Oh well, if not, we'll go somewhere else. Yeah? Yeah, we'll be gone, yeah. Well, let's get in the water then. That squeaking noise is my bum.
I can't quite bring myself to watch.
Try, I miss you getting in the water in a minute. Good luck. Okay, you think we're good enough to go in, we'll get in.
I reckon, as long as you don't, if you go too far north, you can spin off down that way.
Cool.
I don't think there's a lot of tide. I think it's in a bit of a whirlpool here.
Okay, cool, we'll get ready, we'll get in.
It's not me time, it's you.
Yeah, no, exactly. Which is a bit worrying. But no, you're right though, we are old and here.
Yeah.
It's probably because we're aground, but... Right, let's get in the water. Underneath us now. Okay, I got it. We do joke about it, but it is very dangerous diving around here. You need your wits about you, you need previous knowledge of what you're doing and where you're going. I do trust my life with Paul Carre. There's not many people I do, and also I wouldn't be bringing Mish here for a dive if it was that dangerous. So, very shallow. Yes, there's a bit of current. Yes, there's a bit of ground heave, but nothing we can't handle. And when I mean ground heave, you see the back and forth motion of the seaweed. Can make you a little seasick sometimes, but this ain't too bad. It's only going one way, then the other way, then back a couple of feet. It's fine. And this is the boiler of the Channel Queen. So the story of the Channel Queen. She was lost on a Tuesday at 5:15 AM on the 1st of February 1898 after she ran aground and sunk. Unfortunately, she was a victim of fog, mist and heavy swell, which is also true for most of the other shipwrecks in the bailiwick. She was owned by the Plymouth, Channel Island and Brittany Steamship Co. Limited. She was en route from Plymouth to Guernsey and then on to Jersey, and then after Jersey on to Shipwreck in France. She was insured for £12,000 and lit by electricity, which would have been cotton edge for its time, and her captain was Edward James Collins. Captain Collins was no stranger to Guernsey. Guernsey was world renowned for building boats. Well, boats for sale anyway. Peter Osier did actually build one steamer, the only steamer ever built in Guernsey, and that was the SS Commerce. Captain Collins was the captain for this boat. It was nicknamed Toodly Addly because that was the sound it made when it went along. It's quite funny because at the launch it went faster astern than it went forward, and apparently someone had put the propeller on the wrong way round. Now this vessel also plied between Plymouth, the Channel Islands and Shipwreck, and her first commander was Captain Harry Brush. Anyway, back to this shipwreck, the Channel Queen. Unfortunately, 19 people were lost on this vessel. In St Sampson's graveyard there is a stone in memory to the passengers and the crew who perished in this shipwreck, and it was erected by public subscription. Some of the names of the passengers were Frank Cowell of Plymouth, Dolly Ayres, which is a little girl, Seamans, Alfred Scowen, engineer from Plymouth, Charles Thompson, a cook, Henry Davy, able seaman, John Hawkins, a greaser, John Fudge, a fireman off Jersey, and also some Breton onion sellers. The islanders showed every token of respect, and the funeral procession included captains of the vessels from harbour, naval reserves men, and officials and representatives of all classes. And it's hard to imagine what it would have been like the first person to turn up on the scene, and that was Mr. John Bishard of Roselle Cottage of the Passay. He was the first man to notice the Channel Queen on the rocks. He was going to his stables at 5:30 AM on the frightful morning and heard cries from the sea. He immediately lit his lantern and waved it up and down to let those on board know that someone had heard and seen them. On closer scrutiny, he observed that the steamer was on the rocks, Hurrying off to his stable, Bichard put his horse in his trap and he drove it straight to town with all haste to give alarm and procure assistance. He returned to the spot as quickly as possible, and his boat, small as it was instrumental in bringing some of the passengers ashore. The next man on the scene was named Desire Quinton, who went at once to St Sampson's and raised the alarm, and then hurried back in time to make use of the crew with Thomas Henry and J. Young, and was successful in bringing ashore the soldiers and others. Two other brothers, Quentin, were out on the same praiseworthy mission, and I think they should share in whatever praise is due. Now, Mr. John Bichard went to town to tell the lifeboat people. Unfortunately, it would have taken a very long time for this lifeboat to get around from St Peter Port. It was actually towed by a steam tug called the Assistance and took exactly 1 hour to get around there. Far too late. There was an argument it would have been faster to pull it over land and put it in the sea at Grand Half, but they actually tried this later on with 6 horses, and they pulled it and they reached the rocks in 2 hours 7 minutes. There was also other men that went out to help that day, Mr. Buey and Adolphus Godion, and they rowed their boat as close as they could to the half-stricken sunken vessel, and they tossed a rope and slowly pulled survivors to their boat. Mrs. Pollard was passing her baby from the steamer down to the water when it was washed from her arms. The baby's head struck the steamer and was rendered unconscious, and unfortunately she was lost. Mr. Ballin, as Sheriff of Jersey, was rescued while clinging to the bridge rail while just wearing his shirt. In the end, from 5:15 in the morning till 10 a.m, the only people left on the boat was the mate Keegan and Captain Collins. They stayed true to the code of the sea. When they were landed, they were taken to Mr. Delarue's house to give them a fresh set of clothes and sustenance. The French Vice-Consul, Mr. Lamotte, looked after the remaining 29 Bretons, and they were sent down to Madame Hughes in Fountain Street. Now, why is this wreck an absolute mess? Well, one, it's been here a long time, but also shortly after the stranding, the wind rose to a hurricane force winds, which basically broke the vessel up. Reports at the time state that she is visible at low water. She is to a great extent broken up and is said to be turned completely over, her screws being the most noticeable feature of the sorry spectacle. Many people have made excursions from town today, and residents still take great interest in it, and at low water there is generally a large crowd assembling near that spot. This is probably a tiny plate that was left over, now pommeled almost to dust. This shipwreck is well and truly moulded into the seabed now. Now, it's not unusual for someone to write a poem about a shipwreck. If you'd like to read it, pause the video now. Join it. Our next dive is in here. Heading down to the Huffay. Looks like there's a lot of tide, because there is a lot of tide. But we're told it's perfect, eh, Paul?
Sorry?
The tide is perfect,
That's absolutely perfect for being on the surface waiting.
Let's get ready to get in, Mitch. Paul's now dropped us on a location called the Huffay, and we are drifting down towards the Sozoyne. So this is, as you can see, really nice gravel. It's our same old friends. We got some sand eels here. Randomly they like to stay close to the bottom, so that's normally a bad sign. That means there's no flatfish around here when they stay close to the bottom. We have got a little bit of tide, but it's not too bad. I personally think this gravel is a little bit too... yeah, I don't know if it's good enough for flatfish. It might be. Seems a little dusty, but there's only one way to find out. Let's take a swim across it. Mish is offering to take the bag. It's nice of her. It's one less thing for me to worry about. Unfortunately, she's now in charge of the spike, so if we do see any flatfish, she's going to have to be quick. This is quite common now. Loads of spider crab around, but they're all buried in the sand. Maybe they're worried about octopus. Yeah, he's a bit touchy. Paul hasn't put us under any stress whatsoever, but he said if you don't come back with a flatfish, you're not getting a lift home. So, it looks like we could be staying down here a while. I haven't really seen any decent flatfish for a couple of years now. And when I say decent flatfish, I mean sort of 10, 15, 20 pounders. I mean, I'll take a slightly smaller one. The minimum size for a brill is 30 centimetres or 300 millimetres. The minimum size for a plaice is 27 centimetres or 270 millimetres. What we really want is a turbot. It's probably the king of the sea in terms of fish, and they are 30 centimetres, which is only 300 millimetres. Not much really, sort of almost 12 inches. It's actually pretty small. But let's stop talking about it and see if we can catch one. They're very well camouflaged, so it's pretty probable that we actually swim over a few of them and don't see them. They bury themselves quite deep. We've ended up being on this really nice stuff. I think this is the better stuff for flatfish. You see there's like keelworm even on all the stones, so I don't think this is moving as much in the tide, this seabed. It's not so liquid. Some seabeds when you go on sand are liquid, you can dip your hand right in deep to it, but this is the good stuff. Fingers crossed we see something nice soon. That pinging noise you can hear is me dragging the spike across the gravel. In my own mind I was thinking it might attract some fish, or show where the fish are anyway. Kind of like a spoon you get on a fishing lure for flatfish. Looks like Mish has found something. We could be in for our first fish. That looks to be a nice brill. Not quite sure on its size, I can't really see the extremities of it properly. It's over 30 centimetres, that's for sure. This is more like 450 centimetres. This could be our ticket to get us back home. Look how well camouflaged it is. You can see how someone could swim over the top of this and not see it. And this one isn't even buried, this is kind of on the surface. Quite cool, look at the frills around its mouth. Even the shape of the fish blends into the seabed. I could tell it's a brill because it's more oval than triangular. If it is more triangular, it would be a turbot. If you're squeamish, look away now. This isn't massive in size, but it's only for Paul on his own, so that will make a lovely tea for him. Now we only needed one fish, so that is us for today. We still have half a tank left, but we've had fun and we've got one fish. So back to the boat and back home. Hope you enjoyed these West Coast dives. I certainly did. It was the first and last I've done this summer, so we won't be going back unfortunately, and I will catch you on the next tide.